Hello and welcome to the CHRO Club. Today with us we have Adesh Goyal, Global CHRO of Tata Communications, and I'm Pooja Bothra, Associate Editor at ETHR World. Hello Adesh.
Welcome. Hi Pooja, great to meet you.
Great to meet you as well. Adesh, my first question to you is, given that you've spent a decade with Tata Group, what are the tenets of its culture that differentiates it from its peers?
Sure. See, I think there are two ways in which we can look at our culture. One is really the business side, and we call it drive, daring, responsive, inclusive, venturing, and ethical. And the way we've designed this culture really is for spurring innovation and maximizing collaboration, because that's how transformations happen. Now, if you look at the more personal side, we are all driven by Tata values, and the culture is very caring, very compassionate, very human, and it reflects in many things that we do. You know, for example, we do volunteering through a drive week at least once a year. So really very caring culture, not just each other, but also our communities, environment, and everything around us in the society.
Interesting. Tata's always been a social organization. So being a legacy organization, you've got the advantage that, brand recall is there. You have a solid reputation. But does that mean that you're not disruptive, you're not nimble, you're not quickly innovative as compared to new age companies? So what's your thought there?
Actually, that's the way it may look like, but it is quite far from the truth. Let me give you an example. When Tata Group acquired VSNL in 2002, whatever business the company had at that time is perhaps 2-4% of our total revenue today. And we have done a huge amount of transformation. We have programs like, innovation, through which we invite the entire company to think of innovative ideas, innovative programs. Many of our products were actually incubated through these innovation contests. So we are very, very agile, fast, and we are quite disruptive.
So what is the HR's role during these mergers and acquisition? Can you just, if you've had an experience with that?
Yeah. See, the big challenge in merger and acquisition really begins once you're done with it, right? There's a lot of work before that, but the real challenge happens after that. So how do you bring new people on board so that they feel part of the same ship and not like strangers? That feeling has to get over quite quickly. And through that, what we have seen works the best is you draw people out and take the view that we are going to jointly create something new, rather than, merging somebody in yourself, because that approach usually doesn't sit well with most people.
Yeah, valid point. I understand that you digitally enable other industries. So that means that your workforce have to stay steps ahead in technology adaptations. And we realize the way technology is accelerating is easier said than done. Some skills could be in short supply. How are you pinpointing future skills, and how are you creating a learning organization at Tata?
See, this is a very interesting question. About 6 years ago, I would say 6.5 years ago, when we were building a 3-year strategy, right? So we build a 1-year plan and a 3-year strategy every year. We were using many terms for our business that we had not used earlier. And, really everybody was talking about that we're going to use, get new skills. We need people doing different types of roles. And I personally worked with our leadership team, and each one of, I spent about 3 hours with each of them. They spent 3 to 4 hours, including, the workshop, one-on-one workshop that we had, and for preparation. And it became very clear that we're going to need new skills. But none of us had any idea of when are we going to need them, in what quantity, at what location, etc. So that's when we put in place what we call today as Tata Communications Learning Academy. and the project code for that was LearnFlix, inspired by Netflix, learning on demand. So basically, for the last, we went live in April of 2017. We visualized this in 2016, and that has completely transformed learning in our company. So, for example, for about 13,000 employees, we have done about 9,000 certifications last year. We have done on an average 10 days of learning per employee per year, which is, really a kind of a global benchmark. What has changed? The change is that we have an intelligent platform, which has a consumer grade experience, and any employee can learn anything at any time, at whatever speed they want. They can start and stop. They can do it from anywhere. They can do it on the weekend. They can do it while commuting. And people are just learning like never before. And most of it, unless it's a very expensive program, is uncontrolled, that anybody can learn anything. Depending on what your role is, you keep getting intelligent alerts on, what could you do today, actually on a daily basis, right? Not much different from the type of alerts you get on Netflix or social media.
What to watch next.
Absolutely. And learning could be bits and bytes. It could be a certification which could take 30, 40, 50 hours, or it could be through a role academy which could last 6 to 18 months. So we have all types of program. And to give you another idea, 7 years ago we built a product called Project Marketplace, building on the idea that gig work is ultimately going to happen. So we conceptualized this on our own, we built it on our own, it still works, and lots of projects get done on this. So globally, we have about 2,000 managers. Any manager can put out a project that they want executed on Project Marketplace, and it's also an intelligent, platform. And any employee can volunteer to do it, right? So the matching and all of that is quite intelligent. It's also integrated with Tata Communications Learning Academy. So when people are learning new skills for the project that they are going to execute, they can jump from there and learn something new. So the whole idea is that you can get real work done through volunteers who may have expertise, who may have interest in doing stuff which they are not able to do in a day job, right? And for a manager, they may want to get something done, but they don't have the resources, expertise for it at that time, right? And we have also integrated that with one of the world's largest freelance forums. They have about 15 million freelancers on it. So a manager can say that, hey, I'll convert a part of my headcount budget into an operating expense and get some paid gig workers to get the job done.
That's very interesting. That's a great way of connecting the dots. You have learning and then you have practical application through a project.
Absolutely.
And these are great places also to tap data. And to that point, today the biggest challenge I see for HR is that there are a lot of technologies, but how do you use those technologies productively? How do you gather insights from that? So how are you kind of, using data, and you're mining data, applying data for decision making and connecting it to business outcome?
Yeah. See, this is a very interesting point that you bring out, Pooja, and it's quite challenging too. So, the strategy that we have used, the technology strategy that we've used at Tata Communications for HR is really a core and edge strategy, right? So we use SuccessFactors as a core. That is the truth for all the data. A lot of basic workflows happen through that. But over time, like I gave you 2 examples, Tata Communications Learning Academy, there was no such product out there in the market, or Project Marketplace. Products have started coming only in the last 2 years. So we have built a sharp edge by either working with startups or building our own product, right? So for example, for workforce planning, we have our own product. For reward and recognition, we use a startup. So we actually, our core is one, SuccessFactors, SAP SuccessFactors, but our edge is about 40 different applications. They're all integrated with the core. So through this, you can do incremental innovation and keep moving forward. And as things that are on edge today become available in future, we shift them to the core, right? So that's the strategy that has worked quite well for us. There are several examples that we're using by leveraging data. So we started to leverage AI about 6 years ago. So we are the first customer of a Bay Area-based company which was working on HR tech using AI, and we leveraged the technology to do more intelligent, human-like type of search for matching skills, etc., etc., and that's worked quite well for us. We are now shifting to the next generation of that, which is much more advanced in terms of intelligence. So, if take an employee for example, right? The system is capable of understanding a person's capabilities using a rich profile, and that rich profile need not be updated like a CV all the time. The system is collecting data all the time, and it's building that profile. If Pooja does one type of work, other people who do that type of work also automatically get associated with it and then get tested whether it's true in her case or not. And then say, rather than a person saying, this is a job that I'd like to do, the system is capable of telling you that these are the possible jobs that you could do. And when you double click on each one of them, it shows that these are the matches that you have and these are the gaps that you have. So if you double click on the gaps, it shows you the gaps and says these are the programs that you could do to build those skills, right? And the same thing can be done by a manager, right? So the moment you open a new job requisition or one of your team members decides to move to some other group somewhere, it starts showing you people who could replace that position even before you actually open a job requisition. So all people and talent related decisions can now be made using a lot of data, insights and intelligence. Something that was very, very hard to do until a few years ago. And this can actually change, everything. For example, companies run hyper programs. Now, hyper programs can be done only for a few people. But with an approach like this, you can actually scale a hyper program for almost every employee.
Yeah, it's definitely scalable. So, recently we had this debate that, should AI programs like ChatGPT be encouraged in organizations or not? And there are two thoughts. One thought is that organizations are now tracking outcome. They're not tracking how you're working and all that. And anybody using ChatGPT could probably finish the work in lesser time. So what is your thought in that?
See, this is a very emerging field. This has suddenly come upon us, right? If you look at the last 5 years, nobody could predict until a couple of months ago, till the time ChatGPT came out, that it could be this powerful.
Correct.
So I'm still thinking about it. I think it will certainly create a disruption. And like anything, it will have a positive side and a not so positive side.
Right.
I think we have to figure out how we can leverage it in a way that is a win-win for everyone and try to minimize the not so positive or the false side of it. I think it takes some time for us to do that. It will also change the nature of jobs, right? So if I use a rough analogy of, say, automation, right? Automation didn't take away what a person could do. It took away some portion of what somebody was doing and freed that person to do something else and
right.
Generally more higher value added things.
Yeah.
I think some of that is also going to happen in this case.
Yeah, I agree. Even if you're using ChatGPT, it can be for basic. You have to use your human touch to kind of, make it more usable.
Yeah.
You've given me fabulous examples that already shows that how Tata Communication is a future-ready organization. But how else are you planning to be ready for future? If you can share 2 points.
See, one of the ideas that we're working on, and we'll definitely launch it in the coming 6 to 7 months, that when you talk about future skills, right? for a company that is growing and continuously transforming, you never have enough skills, even when there is so much learning happening, right? Because whatever is leading edge, there is always a shortage, right? Whatever you are expanding, there is always a shortage. The reason I think the situation which we are in is that we are not in a red flag situation. There is confidence in people that we can build the skills because we have mechanisms to build the skills now, right? Now, as a part of the Tata Communications Learning Academy, we also have a method for people to do actual learning action projects, which means what you learned, you're actually going to practice, right? And that also happens on the project marketplace. So one of our ideas that we're going to implement soon, that there are certain roles that we're going to require 1 and 2 years from now. Those are future roles. Some of them will be futuristic roles, right? Future role means roles that we need in future. Futuristic means the roles may or may not exist today, but they will exist in the future. The same thing is true for skills, right? Those skills could be related to current roles or new roles. Now, how do we create a momentum for that so that the dots will connect in the future, right? So our idea is that this new system that we're implementing right now, we would like to declare to all the employees globally that, hey, these are the roles that we are going to need in future.
So another boardroom agenda is the DE&I agenda. And I believe you have a 27% diversity number. So how do you plan to increase that? And are you also working in increasing the representation of other marginalized groups?
Yes. So we have a program called Winning Mix. Yeah. So basically meaning when there is DEI, that's a winning mix. And, so far it has worked well for us. Obviously, gender mix is very important for us. And, if you look at what we're shooting for this year, and especially for our college hires, which are increasing more and more, we'd like to aim for 50-50, right? So even if we don't get there immediately, but that's the aspiration that we have. So the more diversity you have at the time of hiring, over a period of time, that is going to flow into the organization and various roles, various jobs, various levels, etc. The second thing that we implement is the Tata Affirmative Action Program, which is really focused on 3 things, right? One is gender, one is people with disabilities, and the third is, the protected tribes in India, which the SC/ST program, and we honor that. We have made good progress in that over the years, and not just employability within the company, but also nearly 2/3 of our CSR focus is really on affirmative action, which is a lot of diversity. The next angle on this is that we have people of approximately 50 nationalities in the company. We have customers in 200 countries. We have employees in 33 countries, and that itself brings a lot of diversity. So automatically you become a boiling pot, and we actually encourage that. The common glue that brings us together is the Tata-ness, the values, and our culture. All our policies are globally the same. Everything that I've described with you is global, but we are also local, and we encourage as much variety as possible.
Interesting. So, there is some kind of mandate that the board makes, and you encourage hiring of diverse workforce. But then ultimately it boils down to the team leaders and managers, how sensitive they are towards different groups, and that is what is going to help your DE&I agenda. So how are you managing or training your managers to, kind of stay away with any unconscious bias and be sensitive towards different groups?
So we have a very active program, and all managers go through this detailed program and assessment. so that they better understand themselves. Each one of us understands each one of us better, how our mind works, how our thinking works. What we consider is as our preference may actually be the darkness under the light, right? And what that does, the experiments that we have done, the programs that we have done, it opens up people's perception of how they're making decisions, right? And once you become aware, then you make decisions with awareness. So that's one. I think the second thing is an innovation that we did about 5 years ago, that when we receive CVs of candidates, system automatically strips them of identities, gender identities, and rewrites the CV. So when the shortlisted CV is being seen by hiring managers, they don't know who that person is. For example, they can't figure it out whether it's a male or a female, for example. And many times people in India, based on your name, they can figure out where are you from, where did you grow, etc. That can't be done. Now, obviously, when they interview the person, then the cat is out of the bag. But at least till then, you have de-risked the system. And the third is a lot of our dialogue in the company really is like this, that we encourage it. On Winning Mix, we have a quarterly newsletter that goes out to all employees, for example. Bringing it to the fore and encourage as much as possible. We have many of our policies we changed many, many years ago, right? So before it became a law in India or it became fashionable to provide long childcare leave or what used to be called as maternity leave, and some still call it, about I think 6 or 7 years ago, we called it childcare leave globally. 6 months paid leave globally in every country. And we said any employee, irrespective of their gender, can declare themselves to be the primary caregiver and take a 6 months paid childcare leave. If you declare yourself as a secondary caregiver, then I think the leave is shorter, I think 2 or 3 weeks. So we are basically working towards removing this norm that only women can take a childcare leave, right?
Yeah. So in a case where a male volunteers or says that I am a primary caregiver, he is allowed 6.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I think there should be a parity between the leave given to a male and female.
Yeah.
You've given smashing answers to all my questions. I'm going to challenge you in a rapid fire round.
Sure.
I hope here you feel a little challenged.
I am feeling challenged throughout.
So are these 3 words that best describe you?
I would say independent, interdependent, and in high spirits.
Wow. One professional achievement you'd like to share with us?
That's a very hard question to answer. So what I would say is that, in my career, I was lucky to be offered lots of roles. I have been a CEO twice. I have been a head of engineering. I have been a CIO. I have been a product manager. I have been a program manager. I've run supply chain. I have sustainability, CSR, many, many things. But I think the biggest achievement is a lot of people, I would say several hundred, maybe a couple of thousand people that I've been fortunate to work with. They are really good friends now.
Who or what has been a driving force in your life?
I would say being mad, making a difference.
How do you find inner peace?
So that's easy for me to answer. About 22 years ago, I did the Art of Living course and I immediately became a practitioner. I practice every day and about an hour. And I also, so basically Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayam, meditation, some yoga. I think that has been a complete life changer for me. And I also do some seva, some service. So that keeps me grounded.
One technique that HR professionals can apply to sustain human-machine interactions?
I think we give too much importance to this human and machine thing. I think both coexist quite well. As long as we are serving the needs of the stakeholders, they don't care how it is being served, especially the new generation. So how do you create a consumer grade experience? I think is really the key. And how you visualize it is one thing, but are you able to deliver it when the rubber hits the ground, every time? That's the key.
What makes Adesh interesting outside work?
I'm actually interesting only outside work. I have varied interests, and I am an avid reader. I read at least 2 books a month. I spend a few hours a month doing some service, community service. I am an amateur photographer. I have a personal collection of perhaps 300,000 pictures. I have a personal collection of a few thousand books. I spend a lot of my time with family and friends. I travel. So most of the interesting things that I do is outside of work.
I think you wear multiple hats, both inside and outside work. Which is the latest app you've downloaded?
ChatGPT.
Okay. If not an HR professional, what would you be?
I would have been an engineer, or maybe a teacher, or maybe a farmer.
Okay. What is one piece of advice you will give to the next gen starting HR careers?
I would say don't focus too much on HR. Focus on becoming a business person who understands business, and then solve business problems and create impact through HR and people solutions.
Please share one item from your bucket list.
Write an article in HBR.
Okay. So thank you, Adesh. It was wonderful chatting with you. I've had so much to learn from you, and I'm sure all the viewers watching this would also. Thanks for joining the CHRO Club.
Thank you for coming to Tata Communications and inviting us to participate. It's been a great pleasure to meet you, Pooja.